Good afternoon, everyone. Here I am on to my next project. I've got an 10 by 16 shed here, and I built it about 10 years ago. And over time, mowing the grass and just everyday work in the yard, we've beaten the hell out of these corners with the lawn tractor. And I've already come in and replaced this vertical piece here, and as well on the other corners. You'll see, we'll do a quick walk around. You can see some of the damage, some of the small damage. What I intend to do is we're getting ready to repaint the entire shed, and but what I'm also doing is I'm going to fab up some corner brace, some corner covers with some mild steel angle iron and some 3-inch flat 1/8-inch thick pieces. So we're going to start to fab this up, and then you can see this corner here is actually, I didn't have to touch, didn't have any damage there. This one still has a small amount of damage. You can see the other piece, which is a slightly different color, I replaced this yesterday. So where I'm at right now is I'm in a place where I can put these metal pieces. You can see the damage here on the side as well. I've decided not to do anything with that. I'm just going to cover up. So the idea is to create like a steel guard that will help prevent future damage. So, and of course, they'll be painted and applied or attached onto the side of the shed after all the work and painting and trimming is completed. And you can see here as well in this corner, this one's got a little bit of breakage on the front, but I decided not to do anything with that. I'm going to just cover it up. So, I'll be back in a few with another update. This pad here, I poured this concrete pad. I had a wooden pressure-treated ramp for many years, and recently decided that I wanted to go with something more permanent. The pressure-treated ramp lasted, again, about 10 years, and it completely rotted out. So several weeks ago, I boxed this in and poured it. So it's got a nice slow slope on it, and I can drive my yard equipment right in. So anyway, keep watching. So here I've got one of the corners mocked up with some magnets here to hold them in place. I'm not quite sure this is going to be the final assembly of it. If I do it this way, I'm going to have a little bit of an overlap on one side of the shed. So I'm going to take these pieces out to the shed and just fit them up to the side of the building and see what's most appealing. I'm thinking about actually shifting one of the pieces, into the channel here, and then having this run the outside, and these coming in and sitting on these side, and just running a weld bead on those on that lap joint instead of a butt joint, let's say. So this is, again, the material, 3-inch wide by 1/8-inch thick, and I already had some angle iron, so I've already pre-cut those. They're 16 inches long. I could have went a little shorter with the height. The problem is that I wanted a good fastening point with some long lag bolts to go through the siding and into the corner studs of the building. So I decided, you've got the siding is canted, and if I bolt it in the wrong spot, I'll buckle the siding and break it. So that was the only reason why I made it so tall. I would have made it even probably 8 inches or even 10 inches, but it wouldn't line up properly. So I'll be back in a few with a little bit of an update. All right, so I'll show you my progress. Now we're back. I went out to the shed and I mocked it up with a butt joint and also a lap joint. And I decided that the lap joint is going to be a little bit easier to weld and will be a bit stronger, than the butt joint. And I think this is just, for what I've got to do, this is going to just be a better overall design. So we've got all the pieces cut, the flat stock, the corner, the angle pieces, and now we've got them mocked up on some magnets. And what we're going to do is we're just going to run an inch bead and on the ends, and maybe at the 25 and 75% of the length on both sides. Maybe offset it. Not quite sure yet. We're going to mark it up here in a moment, and then we're going to do MIG welding. I'm running a Millimatic 211. I'm running at 230 volts, single phase. Alright, so I'm going to step away. I don't have any fancy cameras or anything, so I'll be back once we get the first one tacked up. So I've gone on to the next step, and I fabbed up these pieces, and you can see how I did it here. Basically a lap joint with MIG. It's not real pretty. I was having a hard time seeing. I think the batteries are going out of my helmet, but let me back up just a little bit here. So that's basically how I got all four of them, and I've ground them down a bit and cleaned up some of the welds, and like I said, these are going to go on the corners of the shed. So my next step here is I'm going to do a little bit more sanding and get some of the mill scale off, and I'm going to prime them, and then I'm going to paint them the same color, or possibly a yellow as a final coat. That's still yet to be determined. So I'll come back when they're primed, and then I'll show them again when they're installed on the board. Alright, back again now, and I've got all four corner guards painted, primed I should say, and ready for final paint. I am going to have to drill some holes on the top and on the bottom to mount it to the side of the building, but I'm going to do that before I do the final paint. I touch up with primer. You can kind of get a better shot of my of the MIG weld and how we did it. It's a little easier to see here. We just ran 4 1-inch bands to hold the angle iron onto the 3-inch strap. So basically we're ready to take the next step, and we'll come back in a moment with an update when they're mounted and painted on the shed. Good afternoon, everyone, and I've taken the next step on this project, and as you can see, I've mounted the corner pieces with a couple of 3.5-inch lag screws, and you can also see that I've had them going about 3 inches below the old Hardy trim there. I decided to do that in an effort so that I could place and locate this where I've got a good solid backing, and I did it, each corner is bolted at the same height in the same position, and as you can see, we'll go around the back here. This one here as well, and they're on there. They're not coming. I mean, these are going right into the wall studs, so this is really strong, and that'll prevent future damage. And as I said earlier, when I would drive by with the tractor, the wheels on the tractor would hit the Hardy, and I was breaking the Hardy. So decided to put these guards on here to prevent future damage. And again here on this side, and again last one up here on this side here. So I'm gonna paint these up to match the shed, and I'll come back, take one final video, and show everyone when it's finished. Shed repainting, I poured the slab, and then of course, more specifically on this project, I put these corner plates, and you can see they're all painted now, matching the color of the building. And looking pretty good. Should provide the necessary protection when the mower's running around back here. I do have one final thing I want to do. The floor joists here are pressure treated, but I'm going to seal them. I do occasionally get a little bit of mold here, but I'm going to put some sealer on that to prevent that from coming back in the future. But here's another corner. This is just a shed where I store a variety of different yard equipment, and I put a slab in here several months ago, and I had pressure treated ramp, and it completely rotted out and turned green. That was a project that I had before I did these corner braces. But again, I appreciate you watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon.